Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me on my latest upload. I do apologise for the lack of posts recently. I've been going through a bit of a turbulent time. I've been sailing the good ship McClement through some stormy seas of late. I've had the occasional emotional rogue wave to deal with as well. I mean, the month of December was just an absolute write-off. I hope you all had a good Christmas, but mine wasn't up too much, I have to be honest. I had a cousin that died suddenly on the 9th of December, and then on the day of his funeral I had to visit my gran on her deathbed, unfortunately, so that obviously wasn't very pleasant. So it was during the holidays and it pretty much ruined it for me, like, so. The last few, honestly, I've just not been able to stop thinking about her. Like, it's been unbelievable. I'm into these trances, like, and obviously with the job that I do, it's pretty dangerous. Like, so you need to watch what you're doing. But me and my brother went to see her, and I just wasn't prepared for it at all. Like, it's not something that. I mean, it's never nice when someone's got cancer, like, but I mean, my brother had been up to see her a couple of weeks before, but I mean, he didn't tell me the condition she was in, and I mean, I broke down when I got into the room. I couldn't handle it. Like, I had to leave. So it's definitely been established. I'm definitely more sensitive than David, there's no doubt about that. I mean, I says to him when we came out, like, I says, I wasn't prepared for that. He says, well, I told you she was in her bed. Well, I know that, David, Jesus Christ. But you never told me the condition. Obviously, cancer's never pretty for anyone, like, but it was shocking to see such a strong person been reduced to that, because I'm not used to seeing her like that. I mean, we're talking about a woman that's got 18 grandkids in the middle of Mains, when God knows how many great grandkids, and when you couple that with the fact that I'd never once seen her flustered, and I've thought about it quite a lot recently, I can never remember her being flustered, like, and all you can do is take your lessons from her. And my mum used to tell me, she used to say that, like, the worries of the working classes, she used to call it the tears of the working classes, like it was nothing to worry about, it was just silly things, and that's probably where she gets her strength from. And to be lying there after her favourite grandson had died, he was 7 years older than me, and he was definitely the most talented out of us. So I'm glad that missed his calling, there's no doubt about it. He dies suddenly. He's only 7 years older than me. I mean, I know what's happening all the time, like, but, and then obviously she's been diagnosed with cancer herself, and she's still, I mean, there is still the same person. And it's quite chilling, actually, to see that, like, the square there is the person that you always knew, but the rest of it's obviously not the person you knew. So, like I say, I've been doing a lot of thinking about it recently. I mean, that's what you do, isn't it, when people come to the end of their lives, especially when they've been quite a big part of it. I mean, me and David went through a lot when I was like 12, 13, and she was one of the few people that saw it through her point of view, like, and I mean, we I didn't talk about it much, like, but she is one of the few people that saw it through her point of view, and I'll never forget that, because so many people didn't. It was too easy to jump in the bandwagon. So those who know, like, but yeah, so it has been a difficult couple of weeks, I have to say, but like I say, I've been guiding the ship through some stormy waters, like, but the winds, thankfully, have died down, and the swells have abated, and we're back in mill ponds. So I'm going to start making videos again, because I've had my hiatus. Like, it's time to keep it chapping, like, because I have gave up. No, I'm not giving up. It's just a break, isn't it? Because sometimes you can run dry, and I've said it before. Like, I get this feeling in here, and I've still not even got it now, but I need to try and get it back. You're just sitting a bit waiting for the magic to happen again, really. Like, I mean, obviously reading, watching podcasts and stuff like that can actually help it, but it's still dependent on how you feel. It's like confidence is a big thing in life, and if you're not confident that you're doing, or you're putting the right kind of message across, then I don't see the point in doing it myself, and that's why I've not done it. But before I did take this 5 weeks off, I was dealing with a lot of. In fact, just before I start on that, one-on-one calls are done with now. I'm sure you have probably realised that when I've sort of ignored a lot, because it's just, the thing about it is, it's like, I know people are obviously struggling, and like, if you're on benefits and you've got to worry about getting it sorted out, you've kind of got the day to sit and talk to someone on the phone. Unfortunately, I haven't got an hour or 2 hours, an hour and a half to sit and speak to people anymore. I didn't have it anyway, but I tried my best. because I mean, I'm replying to emails on my lunch break. I don't actually mind doing that because there's nothing else to do in a lunch break anyway. And I will continue to do the emails. And anyone that's been waiting to hear back from me, I know there's a couple of people, you know who you are, have messaged me. One's messaged me 4 times, and I'm going to respond to it tomorrow. It's just, you've got to do what's right for yourself as well. And as much as I want to help other people, if I can't help myself first and foremost, I'm not sure what good I'm going to be to anyone else. So one-on-one calls, it's just not doable anymore. And even like, I'd done away with the £5 donation 6 months ago, because half the people that are speaking to you anyway are just, they're just, if they've got an internet connection, they won't have £5 to give you, and if they've got £5 to give you, they won't have an internet connection. So it's kind of one or the other. So I just had to basically scrap it. And like the last couple of emails that I did deal with was, obviously it's been claimed, there's been a lot of claim reviews that's been coming through. But obviously in November I dealt with a couple of people, complaints, etc. But the claim review one, there's been a couple of people I've spoken to have actually had that, and I mean there is ways to obviously drop the call down by 9-10 minutes, even though it says it lasts 90 minutes. What you're going to need to do is, and I've been saying this from the beginning of this channel, which is, to think it's almost a year is absolutely mind-boggling. But it's the year's been as quick as I can remember. I know everyone says the years get quicker, like, but this last year's shown me that obviously the benefit system's broken. I'm sure you'll agree, it's broken for some people, as I've said. It's not broken for everyone. But there is a lot of these claim reviews going through at the moment. There's a lot. The vast majority of the last emails have either been claim reviews or the bank statement issue, wanting to look at the bank statement issue. And people keep asking me, is there any way to get around that? And there isn't, because the problem that we've got is that when you sign your commitments for universal credit, one of those commitments is that you will clear any assignment that's placed onto your to-do list by either your work coach or your case manager. Now, there's obviously the legality behind that is that you have agreed to that. So what I've said to people is, or I've asked them themselves, does that mean that you can put anything you want, or is there the parameters of what you can say? Perhaps it is just parameters, but one of them is that they can check your bank statements for the last 4 months. And there's been a few people that's had PayPal, and they're asking for 4 months of PayPal statements when the person only had it 3 months. But while that's happening, and while they're sitting waiting for the 4th month, their money's being suspended. And more people are telling me they believe it's actually AI that's running this, and I think it is as well, because and it's logical that it would be, because there's no soul behind AI. AI, it will do whatever you tell it to do, whatever you program it to do, it will do. I know there's a lot of people out there like that as well. They're no better than computer terminals, a lot of these drones that work there, but you do get the odd one that does the right thing. And just while I'm on AI, I get a lot of, there's been a lot of emails recently, people contacting me, asking me to be an affiliate for AI. Now, affiliates, obviously you have to sign up to it. You don't even need to sign up to it. They give you an agreed upon amount on how much you will put the advert out for. It's like a 30-second segment within your video, and then they give you so much money for it. I've had a couple, but most of them aren't AI, but most of them have been AI. Now, AI is something that I've criticised from day one on this channel, and I'll continue it till the last day. And anyone that wishes to come forward and offer me any of their AI products, I'll tell you what you can do with them. You can take them and jam them as far up your arse as you can fit them, because there is no way I'm compromising my own word just to make a wee bit of money. And just another thing, well, I remember actually on affiliates, I'm supposed to be an affiliate for that Shilajit as well, and I'm sorry, but I do apologise to anyone that's bought it or anything like that, but I have to be honest, I think that's pure placebo effect, that shite, because I think it's your mind that's doing that, because I'd love to know what tests has been run to obviously counteract the placebo effect with regards to that Shilajit, because if you're drinking a substance that you believe that everyone is benefiting from, then the placebo in your mind will then allow you to benefit from it. So it's not actually the product that's benefited you, it's your own mind. Because if you're, and this gets into what I've said before about Joe Dispenza, if your thoughts can make you sick, they can make you well. It's as simple as that. And I've actually been watching a lot about that guy recently, and it's so weird that over the last 4 weeks, the emotional turmoil that I've been going through, I've been listening to this guy all the time, and it's almost like it's been needed, because apparently we think 70,000 seconds a day, and when you actually think about that, a thought can only last a second, and there's however many seconds in a day. So there could easily be 70,000 thoughts. In fact, intelligent people have probably got more. The problem with that is that those 70,000 thoughts, 90% of those thoughts were what was given the previous day. So we're even though we're addicted to a negative emotion. Now, when you say that, you think, how can I be addicted to stress and fear and worry and all the rest of it? Because we're usually addicted to nice things like sugar, or, well, they're not nice, but drugs and all that. It's things that sort of stimulate the reward system in your brain. So the idea that you would be addicted to like stress or fear or worry is absolutely mind-boggling. But the fact of the matter is that we are addicted to those things because people need to repeat what's familiar for them. Now, what we do is well, I don't know about you, but when I have a negative thought, I bury it deeper, or I used to bury it deeper into the subconscious. In other words, I pretend I wasn't having it. So if you have a negative thought about something and then you say, right, actually I'm not having that thought, that's not true, it's not me. The fact is you are having the thought and you're burying the thought deeper into your subconscious. Whereas if you pull that thought from the subconscious and just acknowledge it and say, right, well, I accept the fact that I'm annoyed or angry or down or depressed or whatever it is, then you can pull it through the subconscious, and whatever issue that is that's making that emotion happen in your brain, you can then, obviously, you'll stop that trigger happening in the future. And this last 4 months has been like a crash course in this for me. I think that's why, honestly, I've been getting into trances for about 3 weeks, just thinking about this stuff, and obviously my gran and that as well, my cousin as well. So, like I say, it's been a crash course, and anyone that wants to change their life definitely needs to listen to this guy, because we run programs every single day. Like, we wake up in the morning, and most people, they get up, they go to work, and I don't know about you, I get up and I can't be bothered with it. Like, every single morning it's the same. I cannot be arsed with it. But I know that once I get up and I get that horrible side of it out the way, that I'll then start to get the rewards, especially when I get to work and get the first 3 hours out the way. Then the rewards, the dopamine, I can almost time my dopamine in the morning now because of this. But because we're addicted to these negative emotions, even though we don't know it, we repeat the program on a daily basis. So for example, just easily, let's say you're a construction worker or a worker of any kind, right? And you, for the last 3 or 4 years or whatever it is, have been going for 2 pints at night or 3 pints at night after your work, right? And then you say, actually, this has actually cost me X amount of thousands of pounds over the course of this 4-year period. I'm actually going to stop that, and I'm going to start putting it in a jar. The first night they decide to stop that, how are they feeling? Exactly, they're feeling like shite, because the reason is because the thing that their body is used to doing is not, they're not doing it. So the body's starting to respond to, well, what's going on here? And then obviously a lot of people, because of the feelings that we get from that, we then return to the old program. But this kind of leads in to an anniversary. It's an anniversary for me today. It's a very, very sad anniversary for me. The 13th of January 2012 was probably it's probably the worst day I've ever had. One of the worst days I've ever had, because a couple of weeks before that I was working as a fisherman at the time, and I had a friend of mine like it who he like, I had to stay at home because I was getting into a lot of trouble at the time, and I had background reports at court and stuff like that, and I was supposed to go and get them done. Well, I was going to go and get them done, so he took my place on the boat for a sort of 2-week period. Unfortunately, on the 13th of January, I got a phone call at probably 10 o'clock in the morning. I was in my flat at the time, and I got told that he'd died, like he'd been washed overboard. That was the exact words that was given to me. He had been washed overboard, and I thought, Jesus Christ. Now, that in and of itself is bad enough, but it was Friday the 13th, which makes it so bloody freaky, it's unreal. And I've never found him, like, and I'll never forget how I felt that day. Honestly, I was numb. Like you'd hear in films or whatever, or people talking about feeling numb. But how could you feel numb? Because you can always feel yourself. But I'll tell you, that time I could not feel myself, and I got into a drug-induced stupor. I'd never. I can't even remember it really. The only thing I can remember one thing being in someone's car and going to score and someone phoning me and saying how are you feeling? Obviously what had happened, and I'm great, I'm fine. Obviously I wasn't, and then I ended up in prison, like, because I missed the background reports, which was actually a godsend because it helped me. Well, I sorted myself at that time. Obviously you fall off the wagon now and again, or you did back then. But I mean, that wasn't all though. It was the fact that his girlfriend had just found out she was pregnant, and he obviously didn't know that. So it was like, it's quite difficult to accept, obviously, when you're in prison and you're drying out, like, it's the emotions come back at that point, like, and you're thinking, Jesus Christ, what's good? But then obviously as time goes on, and I actually got asked to go back on the boat that had fell off 4 weeks after it had happened, and I told them to fuck off, like, I was like, no chance. But I ended up going on it 4 months later, not to fish on it, but to take it to a harbour around on the east coast of Scotland. But I ended up fishing on it again anyway, which is another story. It was only one trip. But anyway, when it happened, it was like, so this guy, right, this guy who, he was supposed to be coming home with a wage to obviously the news that he was going to be a dad, and that obviously didn't happen. It was me that was left, and for a couple of years I tried not to think about it. But then in about 2014, and it coincides with obviously my awakening, one of the other guys that worked with us on the boat, he used to live down there, and he was obviously there at the time, and he got hold of the MCA report. He's dead now as well, unfortunately. And I'd read the full report. It took me 3 hours, it took me about 2.5, 3 hours to read the whole thing. And it was just like, how that boat was ever allowed to see is beyond anyone, but obviously you don't question it at the time. But I remember sitting round about that time, and it was when I was obviously my addiction was as bad as it had ever been at that point. And I can remember sitting in his house at the time, like, and I was sitting right in the middle. I'm not going to describe the setting because it's graphic, like, but I was sitting in the midst of my addiction. And I looked around, and it was not long after reading this report, like, and I just thought, I mean, he's dead. He can't come home to look after his child, and I'm bloody sitting here like this. And it was in that moment that I decided to become a better person. I was genuinely. I was going to become a better person. I was absolutely determined that this was not going to continue what was happening within the setting that I was in at that particular time. And according to Joe Dispenza, when you are trying to change, it's very, very difficult, especially if you remain in the same environment. Now, however, there's a flip side to that coin, because within that environment, if you can genuinely and honestly and truthfully with yourself, be honest with yourself and say, I'm going to make that change, and the intent behind that is honest and authentic. If you can do that in the same environment that's obviously caused you the problem, then it makes it so much more potent in the end. And people say to me, how did you do this? Why is it possible? Well, that's why, because even though I was I'll never forget it. Like it was like something out of a bloody film. Honestly, you're sitting there and you're absolutely. It's just it couldn't get any worse. I don't think I've been any lower at that point. And it was just. I thought, no, this is wrong. This guy's obviously died. He's one of my friends, and he's obviously not coming back. He can't look after his daughter, and I'm fucking sitting here doing this. And I decided that, like I say, I'm going to try and become a better person, but I want to do something different. I want to try and do something a wee bit different. And then obviously I stumbled onto David Wright's books and all the rest of it, and then you follow the calling through. But it was a very, very difficult day for me, or a very, very difficult time. But like I say, when it's so much more potent when you actually get through it. And it's so rooted, it's rooted so deep in my subconscious that I actually have recurring dreams about them. Like I'll briefly tell you it. So this has happened probably about at least 5 or 6 times that I can remember, where I have this dream and I meet him on a street. It's called Burn Street, and he's in his tan skin, his blonde hair, and he looks beautiful. He looks like an angel. And obviously this is very vivid, it's very real. And I run over to him and I'm like, what the fuck have you been? Like, everybody's looking for you, what happened? What actually happened? And he's just about to tell me what happened, and then I'm back in this bedroom. And I'm hoping that one day he'll tell me, because there's a lot of people that have got questions here about what happened about that. And I have to be honest, I don't think, I spoke to the lads the night they came back, and I seen the state they were in, and I don't think there was any foul play. There was genuine shock there, because they were looking for him in places they knew he wasn't going to be. And to think it was 1 mile off the shore and they never even found his body, it's just so freaky. So it led me to believe, whether it's true or not, that I'm perhaps here for something else. He's been taken away. His daughters grew up without a dad, and all that was left was a junkie. It was like, nah, I had to change that. Like, that has to be changed. But sometimes it takes these catalysts to obviously get you to the next level. Some people call it the arc, and it was the beginning of this new life of mine. There's absolutely no two ways about that's what that was. And I wish I knew what happened, and perhaps one day he'll tell me, because whatever it is he says, if I dream long enough to hear it, I believe it will be the truth, because I do believe in that kind of thing. But I mean, obviously you don't need a life-changing event like that to catalyse you into a new life. A simple authentic intent will get you there. Like anything, I mean, and that's another thing, like, and I've said it many times as well, that the harder the situation that you're in, the better it will be if you can get through it. And it's the same with these claim reviews. I know I've kind of went off a wee bit there, like, but these claim reviews, I know, like the last person I'd spoken to, I had said to them, like, I says, look, I says, when you play football when you're younger, if you go a goal down or whatever, you're told, go and get the ball and show your personality, right? People need to go and get the ball and show your fucking personality. And in a claim review, you can do that by telling them you know exactly who they're working for. So I said to the last person I spoke to just before Christmas, I says, look, just tell them, learn everything you can about the World Economic Forum, everything you can about Klaus Schwab, everything you can about wokeism, and everything you can about the elite that run the world. And then you don't need to learn everything about it. You just need to know that it exists and have a little bit of sort of knowledge that you can articulate about it. And I can tell you, use your humanity against the person on the other end of the phone by basically telling them, look, don't you think it's just a little bit strange that people are, you're peeking into my bank account? What gives you the right to peek into my bank account? And by the way, you're actually working for the World Economic Forum. Do you know what that is? They'll almost certainly tell you no. It's like, well, you can tell them it's a dystopian organisation that's looking to steal not just my freedom, but yours as well. Somebody said to me before, well, can I say that to them? Fucking right, you can say it to them. You're going to need to say it to them, because if you don't, they're going to be on the phone to you next week running your life. Like I say, go and get the ball and show your personality. You can't take it for these people, because don't make their life easy for them. Let them know that you will be held accountable. You are following this agenda, and by the way, saying that you're only doing your job is not going to fly this time. They got away with that during Nazi Germany. If you watch my paperclip video, you'll see that not only did they get away with it, some of them got their money back. So they don't care about that kind of stuff. So of course they're going to try it again, because they've already got away with it once. So they are going to try it again. And it's listen, man, knowledge is power. There is, and this is another side of it as well. There's no point going out and learning everything about the world and then not learning anything about yourself. I know people that do that, and they're not really that much further forward. It's like, look, there's nothing worse than a philosopher that has no self-knowledge, because it's catastrophic, because they're out telling everyone what they should and shouldn't be doing without actually acknowledging their own fucking flaws. And it blows my mind sometimes, it really does. But that is what needs to happen. I can't do it for you. I've had so many people. Can you do a 3-way call for me? And it's like, well, when I was in that job, I would refuse point blank to do it because it's a way for people to rip off the taxpayer. That's why you're not allowed to do it. But you're going to have to learn to articulate. And people keep, oh, it's okay, you can do this stuff. It's like, but I couldn't always do it. It takes time. It's going to take time of getting into a room and you know yourself and reading books and learning whatever subjects it is that interest you. And eventually you will get it. I mean, you will come back full circle. It always does. It always leads into other things. And then you learn something here that you learned way back here that actually connect to each other, and it's amazing when they start to dovetail. And when they do start to dovetail, you obviously know that you're on the right track. And synchronicities, like we talk about synchronicities. I was thinking about that. It's 13 years since that happened. From the 13th, which is obviously today, and just as I was thinking about it, I looked at the clock. I was sitting in the cabin. It was 13:13. It's like. So, when you know you're on the right track, that's what starts to happen, and you know you're obviously starting to sync with the simulation at that point. Obviously, it's not without its trials and tribulations, like, because see, this is the thing as well, and this is another thing that leads into Joe Dispenza's stuff. How many people, they sort of get onto a path and they move through it, and then they hit the first hurdle and they bang, they fall off. That's not for me. On to the next thing, and then they do it again. It's the old hitting the tree with an axe 10,000 different places analogy, rather than just hitting it 10,000 times in the one place, which makes it fall. So that's what it's all about. I mean, life is about learning. It's about trying to get dopamine safely. And I know it's obviously difficult when you're sitting under a claim review and you've got people dictating your life for you, but unless you pick up the ball and show them your personality, they're going to keep doing it to you, and no one else can do this for you. Somebody can do it once for you, twice, 3 times, but there's going to come a point where you're on your own, like, and it's at that point that you're going to have to show your personality. It really is that simple. I mean, I don't know what else to say on it. People keep asking me, saying, oh, can you do a video about this and about a claim review? It's already there. I don't need to repeat myself. I'm sitting here bloody in a cyclonic state, if you like, because I don't know what way to go. It's like that way, do you know that way when you've got like 10 different things to do in a day and you don't know what way to move? You're like, you move that way and you move. Well, that's what it's like. That's what it's like. Because the last thing I would rather do fuck all than bore people. Like, I'm not going to sit here and talk stuff that I've already spoken about. If I can't take it to the next level, then it'll be no level at all. But or it'll be the same level I've stayed on. That being said, a couple of weeks ago at work, in fact it was last week, I mean, I worked through the holidays, like, after that bloody funeral I went to and seen my gran, something changed in me, like, because the week before on Christmas Eve it was pissing with rain, I was up to my knees and shit, the machine wasn't working, and I was pissed off, I was annoyed, like. But then the following Monday, which was the 30th, after the weekend at being at my gran's and stuff like that, and I just had a different energy about me. I was sitting here at 5 o'clock on Monday morning playing my guitar, which is something I never do. Like, I'm still sleeping at 10 to 6 because I get through, I go to the end, like right to the end of the alarm, which I shouldn't do. But that morning I was up here, it was the holidays while everyone else was at home, and I got up there and it was 7:20 in the morning and it was pissing with rain, and again I'm up to my knees and shit, and Derek's sitting in the digger, and he was like, I'm out in the rain jumping, loving it, and fucking absolutely, he says, you're fucking mental. You better believe I'm mental, mate. I'm just glad to be here. And I told a guy that I see, like, I call him my therapist because that's what he is. His name's Derek as well. And he's, how he puts up with me sometimes I honestly don't know, like, but I went round and I told him about all this, because where would I got to without him? Like, you think of all these different things and he'll come out with one sentence that just brings you out of it. Like, he is like a therapist to me. But I told him about that when I was out in the rain. And he burst out laughing. He says, I know it was shit. He says, but I absolutely love to hear stuff like that, because that's what life is like. Everybody thinks that these rainbow monks, that they get their rainbow bodies and that's it, everything's heaven on earth, and it's just not true. It's just a lot of chores, carrying water and food and whatever else that needs carried, and that's what life is. It's about getting into the thick of whatever it is you're in and trying to enjoy it as best you can, because again, if you can decide, if you're hating something but you can decide to change within that and genuinely mean that, then that'll become more potent for you. I mean, it might take, for the first couple of years nothing happened for me really, like, other than I was getting clarity for reading some books and learning some new things that were old mysteries, if you like. But other than that, I wasn't getting anything out of it. I was still reading about fluoride and water and the bad food. I was overweight at the time. I was eating too much junk food. That's all down to the fact that you're stuffing your feelings, obviously, along with drugs. And that's just the way it is, like, it's just the way it goes. But if you can decide, look, I've had enough of this, and in that environment, be genuine about that and actually try and take a step into it. Again, it's just a small step. There's no point taking bigger steps, because you're going to fail. You will fail, especially if you're not bloody accustomed to taking big steps. You will fail, and then you'll say, oh, fuck this, I might as well just go back doing what I was doing. And that's just you're just wasted your time, really, because it's something that you've obviously decided that you don't like. Don't do what I've done and just keep going back to it and going back to it. But again, this is all in the brain chemistry, because we need to repeat what's familiar for us. And like I say, it's been like a crash course in this stuff. And I got a feeling the other day there, and it was a weird feeling, but it was a good feeling. And I said to the kid I work, I said, almost like it almost feels like the next level. It's like, this is what I'm trying to push myself to it. 7 days a week, like, honestly, man, see some of the work it's been doing. Oh, you need to have at least one rest day. And I actually said to my boss, me and my boss were talking about this, they're my brother, but the person that owns it, oh, you need to have 2 rest days, Alan. It's like, well, the guys in the cotton fields, they didn't get any rest days, did they? And people in Auschwitz, there was no rest days in the coal mines in Auschwitz, was there? Or the coal piles in Auschwitz. So, what I mean, if I was one of the unlucky souls that got caught in that, I can't say, oh, by the way, I need 2 days off the day, mate, just to let these muscles recover. So why do you... This is the thing, like, this is the programme. You only need 2 days rest if you believe you need 2 days rest. I'm telling you, I've been eating less food recently, and I'm working out more. Now, before I was eating more food, and it was like, it wasn't happening. But see, there's been a couple of days where I've like had an extra roll or something. You're actually more hungry that night. It's the same with sleep. Telling Niall, this the kid I work with every day, like sleeping, like, what I was like at that age. But the more you sleep, the more you want. I'm down to 7 hours a night and I actually feel better. Whereas if you told me that 2 years ago, when I was getting 9 hours of sleep or 8.5 hours of sleep, the 7 wouldn't have been enough. You wake up, everything's a mind program. Absolutely everything is programmed. Everything up to the age of 35 has been programmed. So that means that there's been a puppet master that's been programming it. Now, if you don't know that, fair enough. You're going to keep getting programmed, but when you find that knowledge out, surely you take the initiative and say, well, I want to program myself. And that is what we do. We just break down the old programs and reprogram ourselves. But I'm sorry, you're not going to do it with a lot of the old friends and a lot of the old family members, especially the ones that are rigidly holding you back because they don't want to see you change. And trust me, there's a lot of that, certainly within families. There was within mine, that I can promise you. I think I've said probably everything I'm going to on this video. I will continue. I've started reading. I've read about 3 books in the last 4 or 5 weeks, like, so the content will start coming out me again. And just as I say that, it's 33 minutes, so synchronistically I'll leave you on that one. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you soon.